Hello, everyone. Today we are welcoming a special guest who is fixed income professional and he prefers to stay nameless. And today we are going to talk about South Korean stock market, about investment trends this year, and also we will speak about South Korean local market and what ideas are preferable these days. Thank you, and let's dive in right now. Thank you very much for coming. And today our podcast is devoted to South Korean stock and bond market. And I would like to start with your personal experience. And my first question is about your experience and about your personal journey in investing. How long have you been in stock market, and why did you choose this specialization?
I did my MBA in US in 2002 to 2004, and but because of the job condition, I interned at the UBS, and I had a chance to become a sales at the Morgan Stanley Tokyo, but at the time I was very young, so I didn't like being a sales, so I didn't make it. So I come back to Korea, and then I started with LG Chemical as a strategic planning department, and then I moved on to security business from early 2007, and from then I've been keep working on the security business. I started with the overseas business first time. So at that time I went to like Mongolia, many different places. And I started doing fixed income from the Lehman Brothers because there were no many people who had an understanding of the global bond market. So they needed someone, the professional, to manage it, and then they were looking for someone who speaks English and could speak to the back office people overseas. So I started as a junior fixed income, sort of, doing settlement and all that stuff from 2007 when the Lehman Brothers came in. And then on, I worked until 2020 as a fixed income dealer, a market maker, and then after that I got really tired. I mostly traded the global bonds, so I traveled all over the world: London, UK, US, Thailand, Kazakhstan, Russia, Japan, China, all over the countries to meet institutional investors. Too old for that kind of profession. When you trade global bonds, you have to pretty much be awake 24 hours a day. So the US market opens, I can't sleep. So it was just too much for me. So now I'm in a private banking sector in a branch. My clients are mostly corporations, mid-sized corporations, and then some of the individuals and some funds. My specialty will be much more in the fixed income, but I've been catching up with the stock market. I've been learning, yeah.
Thank you. And next question is quite interesting because I am a personal investor. I have my own portfolio. And do you invest personally, and how long have you been doing it?
Well, I invest mostly in a pension, which is good for me because I cannot withdraw the money until 55. So I tend to invest in a more long-term So I try not to invest in a individual stock too much. I only play few for individual stocks, but usually for the pension fund, I buy just fund or ETFs or bonds and so on. But it's been quite successful. But when it comes to like short-term trading in the stock, it's very tough.
Do you prefer local bonds, Korean bonds, or US bonds, or another markets?
I think now the US Treasury 30-year long-term bonds have a good chance of probably keeping your assets. And but I would mix everything. I wouldn't keep all my apples in one basket. I mean, Korean won, but I would like to have US dollar, Japanese yen. So you would like to approach your portfolio as a whole.
Okay, let's return to this question a bit later. And how does Korean stock and bond market differ from other markets for now? And what are the key indices that shape the Korean market for now?
The Korean market, you have to understand, not from individual stock point of view, but you have to understand Korea as a country, how it's positioning in the world. Last year, the India market was really hot. I mean, it was just skyrocketing. And then in the later half, it just went down. So where are we now? We are sort of stuck in the middle of China, Russia, US, but we're competing with Taiwan. We have very similar portfolio with Taiwan, chemical industry, semiconductors, shipbuilding. So you have to think of Korean market as where it's positioning within the world or within the market. So we have a very unique position in the world. And if you look at the Korean country as a country, Korea as a country, it's very hard to find a country with this kind of infrastructure intact. Because I've traveled so many countries, it's sometimes very hard to get a internet in Europe. China is much more developed in terms of the internet, web industry and all that stuff. But we have unique positioning in the world. So I would say if you are foreign investors investing overseas, you should first understand what Koreans do and what are they good at, and can Korean people keep up with that pace, even with all the changes domestically, like education, populations, pension, all that kind of stuff. It's dynamic with North Korea. I think Korean people, mostly many Asian people are very diligent, meaning that they tend to work very hard compared to other race. I'm not trying to be a racist, but in general, my experience tells me that Asian people work too hard and they will work more and more and more. So it's very hard to find that kind of people. I'm not saying that makes people happy, but just the way how the society and the relationship of the people in Asia are built. And of course, Korean people are a little different from Japan, China, or like South Asians. So I think you first want to understand what Koreans do and what they're good at, how they are doing it.
when we see main blue chips of Korean stock and bond market, we can see Samsung Electronics, SK Hynix, and also we can see, for instance, Pemtron or ABCO company as an example. But can we see these companies, small cap and middle cap and big companies in one indices, for instance, KOSPI or KOSDAQ, and what is the difference between these two indices, and how can we trace the market and also to see opportunities for foreign investment?
Well, if you should look at it more from a legal standpoint to see what the difference are. The requirement for the market capitalization for two different market is different. It's regulated by the government. Mostly, you can think of KOSPI as more bigger stocks. It's easier for you to understand that way. KOSDAQ is more of a growth stock, ITs, small caps, mostly. But it doesn't necessarily be that way. But usually the size.
Okay.
Usually the size. Yeah.
Okay. And how much influence do main corporations such as Samsung Electronics and, for instance, LG have on local stock market?
No, it's huge because many of the companies are OEM companies. So they're making goods for those companies. You can think of them as those conglomerate as a marketing company because they have huge power over the influence to over the world to sell stuff. But small companies don't have ability to do that. So most of the people who sort of started out all this company are from Samsung or LG. And then they get all this experience and then they come out and they start their own business and stuff. So many of the robot or semiconductors, equipment industries, they are previous Samsung or SK Hynix employee who started out, and that which is why it's quite important for those company. Like it's a matter of efficiency in Korea. Like if it's a US, it's a huge country, so you can start your own business and you get prosperous. But in Korea, it's just market is so small. It just comes back to the size factor. So if they go broke, it's a huge problem.
I understand. And if we see foreign investments in Korea, so we have some issues and some problems. For instance, for foreign investor, it is quite difficult to open brokerage account and also to get access to local Korean stock and bond market. So why do foreigners often have limited access, and why is regulation so tough? And one more question. For instance, when I opened account in brokerage company, I was not allowed to trade international stocks. But for now, I see my friends have brokerage account, for instance, in Samsung Securities or in KB Securities, and they are foreigners, and they can get access to international stock trading. For instance, for US stock and bond market. Why is it so? And maybe there are some regulations or some restrictions for foreigners to know
Well, I
about.
mean, as I said, Korean market is very efficient, meaning that if you go to US, let's say you go to New York and you want to, if you have the euro and then you want to change it into US dollar, the bank will not do it for you. You only have to go to the FX, the currency exchange, and do it at a very expensive rate. So whenever I travel, I try to do the same thing as you do in here. It's so hard. So if you really think about it, although it's very uncomfortable or inconvenient per se for the foreigners to make all this account personally, if you're an institutional investor, it's much better. But if you're not, it's just compared to other countries, I think we're still good. Yet, of course, it's not easy. And Korean people are, although there are many people who speak English much more fluent than ever before, but not everyone do that. So many employees in the stock security companies still not comfortable with being responsible for anything that might cause any trouble with the government, probe. And when it comes to investing overseas, yes, there are some of the security company allows that to happen, but the principle is why foreigners wants to open an account in Korea to invest US. And there were some cases people were doing the money laundering
I understand.
through that. So I think it's a very shady law. So I think if you really look at it, oh, maybe I can do, maybe I can't. So it's very not crystal clear, and there are not many institutional investors who would come to Korea to invest US market. And as a matter of fact, I have few friends who have all their money in Hong Kong, and then they live here. But whenever they try to invest in the US market in the Hong Kong brokerage account, they always complain it's too expensive. So Korea brokerage is quite cheap.
And what is the average brokerage commission?
It's like a 5 BP basis point or lower. And sometimes it's even lower because of the competition. The efficiency I mentioned before is very high competition between the companies, among the companies. So the rate is quite low. I mean, if you go to other countries and try to trade stocks or bonds, they can cost you. But in Korea, it's a surprise how we survive. Which is why a lot of security company wants to let people go, so that only machines, they have all these HTS and mobile trading systems that don't require any people in the branch.
So online trading is more preferable than offline, consulting and offline brokerage services, right? It is.
So what they're saying is pretty much. Let's make the online system as a default and fire people. So they think the advisor they don't need, and most of the young people don't ask for people to guide them what to buy and what not to buy, because they know most of the time young people know better than the private bankers. So they're faster, and
They do not need this
They think why we pay.
additional. Understand. Thank you. One more question. Can foreign investors participate in Korean IPOs?
If you want to invest in newly issued stocks, you have to set up an account with the underwriter. So let's say LG is issuing new stocks, then you have to open an account where underwriting that stocks. So let's say Mire is the guy who's doing it. Then you have to have an account open there. So you might have to open several accounts in order to, then you can only participate in a Samsung security underwriting stocks.
Understand.
But you can.
So there is no
prohibited.
any restrictions?
No.
That's quite interesting. And how can investors, foreign investors, withdraw profits and withdraw money abroad? Are there any...
Well, the way how the Korean government is controlling foreign money come in and out, they want your money to come in through one account and come in and go out through that account. So that's an FX account that you can most of the time build through banks. So they want to monitor it. So usually most easy way for you to come into the Korean market is to set up a bank account first.
So you recommend to open separately bank account and separately brokerage account, right? In order to make it easier, yeah, right?
Yeah, I think technically you should be able to, but I wouldn't recommend.
Okay.
Because we're not security companies are not deposit into institution, meaning people don't put their money for safekeeping. They're for the investment account. So in order for us to take the money in, we have to go through somehow with the bank account. Yeah, it's hard because what security companies are doing is basically take the money in the name of security companies, and we're only managing your individual account separate. So technically you are sending the money to our company. So from your point of view, it's weird that you're sending the money to us and not your account. And it's tricky when we are sending the money back. We are sending it to you. And government will say, why?
Understand.
So your money has to come into your account, and then your account has to send it back to your account. Setting up a bank account would be much convenient.
Convenient.
And convenient for you to do. And for you to move around your money inside the Korea, it's much better to have your own bank account first. I know if you're not here, it's very hard to make even the bank account. Somebody knows, but it's not easy if you are not an institutional investor to just go into a branch and then, can I have my bank account set up? Or just through the phone, I'm a foreigner, I will send my money, can you create my bank account there? It's not easy. Yeah. That's not even easy in US. First I went to US to study. I had my traveler's check, and I was trying to set up a bank account in the US. They won't do it for you. They will require me to like, do you have any apartment? Yeah, that's why I need to deposit my money. Otherwise, how can I pay the bill? So I was like, how can I survive? Like, all I need to do is just bring all the cash. Like, so it was very kind of crazy when I first went to US and then trying to set up an account, and it's
was
very tough
difficult.
as an individual to come in.
One more question about macroeconomics and external factors, and how do US and China impact now for South Korean economy, and does it influence on stock and bond market this year?
Yeah, of course. I mean, what US is basically saying is that don't export it to China, export to us. But if you export to us, I will charge you a lot of tax. So make everything in the US soil and then sell to US people. I think it applies not only to Korea, but all the rest of the world. To sell anything to China in a special industry, it's very tough. And try to sell stuff to US, it's also tough because of the tax. So it applies to every countries, and especially the semiconductors, which has been huge export factors for Korea to China, is now banned. So of course, it's been that way for a long time, and with the tax imposition, it's going to be even tougher. So at the end of the day, do you have enough technology so they cannot resist buying it from you? So we just have to keep fight the survival game.
Okay, and what do you think about Korean won? Will it be stable or volatile?
I think our government bond will be included in November, August, to the World Government Bond Index. And already from last year, more and more institutional investors overseas are buying Korean government bond. And I think it's almost over 20-something%. But historically, if foreigners share in the bond market gets more than 26%, there's a possibility when they take the money out from the market that we may experience some kind of turmoil in the FX market. So we're exposed in that sense. But for now, I think our currency may not appreciate too fast, because we have family, like the whole country is in debt.
No, I understand.
Like individuals, companies. Companies have been building a lot of debt, not just because they want to grow, but they want to be prepared for any kind of economic shocks. So good companies have a lot of cash still. The weakest links, like poor people, middle class, are now more and more in debt because of the higher apartment price. And people are just living out of debt. So the banks are the owner of the Korean people and apartment assets. Even some of the companies are, you can think of them as technically owned by the banks. So with that much of debt, I think for BOK to raise yield or having the yield at this level is very tough. But as you see that if your yield is too low, then your currency tends to depreciate. But the last few days, after the BOK has cut the rate, 25 basis points, the FX market has been quite stable. the currency depreciation outside the US is common thing. It's not just the Korean
Yes.
currency that has depreciated. All the other currency has depreciated. So you have to look at when a different foreign currency. Now what you have to do is to look more into a downside, meaning if there's any shock, is this currency can hold, or can they not? So Chinese yuan will be okay, Japanese yen will be okay, NT dollar, Korean won, okay, but I think for the Korean won to appreciate in short period of time is not easy. Maybe in the long term, but not easy.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very interesting. And maybe not so, how to say, it is a question for now for future outlook and investment trends. And what is your own opinion? How do you see the Korean stock and bond market and how it will be evolving over the next 5 years? What is your forecast? And for now, what do you think about this issue? Do you think that Korean companies are mainly and currently undervalued? So is it a good time to buy or it is not so quite definite?
Well, I think some of the industry like defense, like military defense, and shipbuilding, it's the valuation is so high now. Relatively undervalued sector would be the semiconductors, and now chemical industry is going through a very hard time because China is more making cheaper plastics, and battery industries are sort of slowing down because so many batteries you can produce, or so many cars that people will ride, electric cars. So their growth is very sluggish. And the battery industry from China is getting even more competent. So it's very hard for Koreans to win over from the cost point of view. But I think still Koreans are doing very well with the media and entertainment. Media and entertainment would be okay because the price has been very cheap after the BTS went to the military, and will still do okay. Even with the economic slowdown all over the world, I think it has relatively slow correlation with other industry or countries' economy when it comes to media and entertainment, like Squid Games and all that stuff.
Right.
So I would say semiconductor is still okay valuation, not too high, not too cheap, but I think it has some potential. Media entertainment has some potential. Banking sector, not really. It's banks stock price tends to do better when the yield goes up because they will charge more and more. When the yield is keep going down, they are lowering the interest rate for many reasons, but including economic slowdown. So the government will be very forceful for them to lower their lending rate. So the ALM, asset liability management, the margin will be narrower when actually the yield goes down. Or their existing assets price may go up, their bond price may go up, but it's not a huge part for the banking sector. So they more care about the margin, but margin is very narrow. So I think the banking sector is already too expensive.
What about FMCG or
FMCG,
food industry
um,
or telecom industry?
well, telecom industry is very slow, and SK Telecom and KT. Like I said, those are more data driven. So you need more samples, meaning that you have to have more clients to have more information about your clients, to have more influence over the market. But SK Telecom, KT, yeah, we have 50,000 people in this country, and I don't think it will grow anytime soon. So yeah, they are making money because they are more like an infrastructure kind of stocks, but I don't think it will grow too much. And their undervaluation has been well valued because they are paying more dividend, because that's all they can do. So because they are paying more dividend and they are buying the stocks back, buying back their own stocks, so the price would go up for that reason. But if you're looking for any kind of growth factor from the communications industry, not easy. But the food, I think food is making money okay. But the food industry tends to get very low valuation from the market. It's the same, unless they sort of buying back their shares and pay more dividend. But they're very much equipment heavy industry. So for instance, like ramen or buldak ramen, for them to produce, they need a huge space, factories and machines. It's a very much like a heavy industry dependent equipment industry. So in order for them to keep up, they need to keep investing. So they need to spend money. They don't have enough money to pay you back as a dividend. So yes, it's very cheaper. The price has gone down so low, yet would they grow even more? Don't we have enough Korean food all over the world already? So I think if you think that there will be more Korean people food all over the world, and people will start eating more Korean food, yeah, but do you think so? Maybe. I think we have already enough Korean food exported to US or even Mongolia. They have the CU, right?
Yes.
They're a huge chain of Mongolian.
And I was quite surprised that in Vietnam there is also Lotte company, and they have their own supermarkets.
Yeah. So they're growing, but would they grow substantially in the future? Maybe, maybe not, but it's hard to measure at this point. Yeah.
Okay. My question is about cryptocurrency also. What do you think about this industry? And do you believe in cryptocurrency exchanges, for instance, Coinbase or?
Well, I don't know if I can really comment on that because I'm not really an expert in the crypto industry. But only thing is that it has a better mechanism that may jeopardize current banking system. Like for instance, SWIFT is going through a lot of very hard time because there are many other ways for people to send their money overseas without using the SWIFT line. So from a technology point of view, I think there's some use for it, but the pricing of the crypto, how people are valuing it, I think it's growing out of fear that the governments all over the world are printing too much money, and the asset price is going too much, and people are so scared that they're losing their faith over the government printing money too much. So I think it's a dynamic of how people are perceiving money and the inflation stuff. But eventually, I think there will be only few coins will be left for the common use. So I wouldn't. I don't know. I'm not really expert on it. So
I understand. And I have two my own personal cases. I have bought on IPO coupon on
US.
US, and also I have bought cacao on IPO, and both stocks went down.
Yeah.
And for now, I see rise of both platforms, both coupon and cacao. What do you think about these assets, about these businesses, about marketplace?
Coupon has been saturating the Korean market. So it's almost impossible for you to think of Korean app industry to order stuff without having the coupon in your phone. Yes, but like I said, we have only 50 million people in Korea. It's not going to grow anymore. And will Chinese people or US people will use coupon? Maybe not. Maybe the coupon will be more like a technology company at the end of the day. So they can they're very good at managing their products and be sent in one day or overnight. They can be a service provider in US or other countries. That may be possible as some kind of like a stock managing company, not security, but stocks of your assets. So coupon, we need to see more, but only with the portfolio now. Will that be Amazon? We will have to see how it evolves. And cacao, I think it's going up because it's cheap, too cheap. And the part of the cheap price was driven by the political conflict. Cacao has been very left-wing company, although they are making tons of money. It's just, for me, it's like, you're making too much money and you're still left-wing? I don't understand. But yet, they are. So with different regime becomes the president, maybe, then they will be much more politically supported. But as I said, I wouldn't heavily invest in those data-driven companies because Korea is just too small for that. Yeah, eventually it'll be all China or US. The market is too small. Yeah.
Understand. Thank you. And to finalize our dialogue, what advice would you give to foreign investor who is looking for starting investing in Korean securities market? And Also, what would you recommend? For instance, what information sources and what services would you recommend for foreign investors here in Korea to see and to follow?
It's a tough question, but it's very hard for the foreigners. Doesn't matter you are originally Korean or Korean Americans, whoever immigrated to your country, to really invest in Korea and start do stock picking. It's very hard to keep up with this change. Even your own country's company, you don't understand all of them. So for you to really be involved in Korea to invest in individual stocks, it's tough. Which is why a lot of people are investing in ETFs that are investing in sort of kind of like cheaper fund-ish, more liquid fund. So I would start from the industry ETFs, and then if you get to know more or interested in certain industries in Korea, start investing in stocks or ask VITIS to pick the stock for you, because you have to have someone there to do the work for you. Otherwise, you just invest in ETFs. It's just impossible for foreigners to. Even Koreans don't understand Korean market, all of them. And yeah, I mean, why spend all your time analyzing all individual company, sitting in Hong Kong trying to understand all the small companies in Korea? So it's impossible, and let the expert do the job for you. But make sure that you try to understand the industry of Korea in a macroeconomic sense, and look at the Korean market as part of your portfolio. So Korea is good at something, but some countries are good at other things. So if you're, let's say I said that if you are trying to invest in data-driven companies, invest in China or US. Invest in a country where they have a huge market. So they have more data and information and experience. But if you are looking for some very specialty industry like semiconductors, which can make very micro computing devices and all that stuff, you have to look at the semiconductors and IT industry from software and hardware point of view separate. Hardware, Koreans are doing okay. But if you look at the software, of course it's dominated by China or US. I mean, if you're looking for software, go other places. If you're looking for hardware, Korea may be a good option. And if you're looking for like media entertainment, yeah, I mean, BTS and all this people sacrificing their life to make money out of the globally. Just think of why you like Korea and why you want to invest in Korea, and what do you think of Korean strengths are when it comes to business or industry, and invest in that value, because when you invest, you always invest in value. You don't invest in name, because name you don't have control. Like Samsung, you don't know what the CEO would do. So I think always, when it doesn't matter if you are investing in Korea or Japan, China, doesn't matter. I think you always have to invest in value. What do you value? Like semiconductors, what are the values that you're looking for? Then choose which country is doing better at it. And yes, Korea will be struggling because of China and US and Japan, all these competitions and tax politics, but yet some industry will do well. And you should just think of what else. Where else can you think of when you think of semiconductors? It's just Taiwan and Korea. So you should allocate your assets accordingly. You don't just, hey, Samsung is really good, and we just all buy Samsung. It just doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And my final question is about artificial intelligence industry. What do you think? Is it already a bubble, or should we pay attention more for this kind of idea?
Well, I mean, you should always think of when an industry develops, it only develops when they can make money. And now everything is about subscription. So if you're using Microsoft, you have to pay monthly fee.
Oh, yes.
Everything is now monthly fee. So let's say, okay, I just want to buy Windows, and then I don't want to pay anymore. But they will say no.
Already.
Either you pay every month, or I wouldn't sell it to you. Like even AIs, like ChatGPT, you have to pay monthly fee. And then they say, oh, if you're processing more data, you have to pay more. So we're sort of becoming a slave to a monthly payment. And everything that we did before for free, now we have to pay. And it's going to be very hard for people to buy more assets as their own properties, because as more money printed and more money goes into very few people's hands, so some people are super rich, but there will be much more poor people all over the world, because the money have a tendency to get stuck in few places. So some people will have tons of money, but I won't have that much money. And in order for me to own an asset, which is why a lot of apartment prices going up, because people want to have their own stuff. There are more money printed, and those monies get into the hand of very few people, which is a problem of this commercialism from the beginning. But it's just that smart people or greedy people gets more money, and we don't. And we'll be charged every month for everything that we use. Apartment, even using bathroom, you have to be charged. I mean, so you should think of it that way. And AI, I mean, yeah, it'll make your life much easier. But, internet has been developed from the early 90s. But where we are, I mean, yeah, it's a faster internet, but did it really change our life that much? Compared to the 90s? Yeah, you can buy, stuff quick. Good for them, but I don't know if it's really good value for me. But AI is also part of that kind of, in line with that kind of development. So AI would do more work for us. I don't know, with the kind of hardware we have, there's so much you can do, but if we have more quantum computing that recently Microsoft sort of said that they have built this new computing system that can process 10 times more than what we have now. If that's real, then AI would do much more better work, but I don't know for what. Like, it's for some companies to make more money and some people to have more power. But we cannot resist. We just have to keep up with it, yeah? But the problem is that people don't have enough money to pay. People gotta eat. People can't pay so much. So if you don't have money, you have more limited access to the information. And you get even more poorer, which is terrible, but that's just the way it is now. Yeah, so the AI, hardware-wise, yeah, I think the humanity has almost reached the level where we cannot consume anymore. The companies are now trying to find a way to make people consume even more and just draw the blood out of you for them to build more cash. They're finding ways. Now it's very hard for people to have cash in their house, because for you to wire money, like huge amount of money, it's very hard to bring all this cash to the banks and then wire it, and then you have to report to the government every time you do. And
Yes.
people are trying to suck all this cash out of people, and then they pay you low wage. so you gotta find a way to survive. And AI is a tool for the companies to make people to pay more. Would they make our life even much, much better? Yeah, but they'll find a way. So I think the AI would have much more room for improvement for next 10 to 20 years. We'll see about that.
Thank you very much for this interesting dialogue. And what is your main advice for a smart investor this year?
This year, if you want to play safe, go for Japanese yen and stay in the 30-year US dollar bond. Of course, if you invest bond, you can make so much money. So it's not a stock. It's not like stock. It won't appreciate 100% or 200%, but at least you can sleep at night. And once you start making like 10, 15, 20% out of that portfolio, then if you look around, there are many industries that have been depreciating. So then you can start buying. So if you haven't made a lot of money already, then I would play safe. Korean bond market is not gorgeous. Now the yield is only 2 to 3%, but it has a good liquidity. So if you just wanna, I don't care if I make money, I just wanna play safe, then keep it that way. And then if I want to be a little more aggressive, buy Japanese yen, 30-year US dollar government bond. And if you want to be aggressive, you just have to know how to pick the industry. But I think this year at least, the too expensive stocks like Nvidia or some of the Korean military shipbuilding, they might depreciate. So we see some rebalancing in the portfolio. But until the early half of this year, I don't think that the stock market would collapse anytime soon. If it does, it'll be very slow collapse, like slowly dying. Because we have too much cash. People, if you go to US, almost like 70% of the young people are all playing crypto and stocks. And they don't spend money. They just eat home and they eat salad or they eat carrot and then they buy stocks. So we have too much cash in the industry that people gamble until people really give up and then knock out. It's going to be very hard because nothing is now systematic, meaning like Lehman Brothers, IMF, some people are just have overused their power to do things. And in the industry or in the market, they want enough cash to absorb that shock. But after that, we have been printing too much money all over the globe. And now, even some by default, we have still a lot of cash to make it normal again. But all over the world, the problem is that the common people have less money to spend. Because the price has gone up too much. Although in US their salary has gone up quite a bit, but their pricing, the price is so high in US. In Korea, compared to US, our price hasn't gone up that much, but our salary didn't appreciate either. So consumable assets for the common people are lower and lower. And even if there are some people who gamble, I think this kind of weird status may sustain itself for a while until people say, oh, I can't do this. And for hedge funds to really push the market into some direction, it's impossible because there's too much money. Like how much cash now the Warren Buffett has now?
Oh, yes.
He will make money anyway. So, and more people will give Warren Buffett money. Oh, do the money for me. And he will just have the cash ready until other people will say, give up. So, I think it's important for you to play safe. Don't overuse your risk limit this year. Well, of course, it's fun to play, but don't overuse it. So play it safe because you always have a chance. It's a lie that everybody lose. There's always stocks. It's always a zero-sum game, I think, in my opinion. So somebody lose, somebody make money. So what kind of build your own strategy and then stick with it. Of course, if you don't make money, it's just your destiny not to make money in your life. So you will make some money after life or something. But not everybody makes money. If everybody makes money, it's just we're all happy people, but it doesn't work that way. So just, build your own strategy first and then stick with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Huge thank you for our special guest. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and to share, and also to subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much and see you in the next episode.